Greetings, magical souls. I hope everyone's doing well. It is for us in New Zealand, it's the day after the eclipse. And I had I had a bit of a strange day yesterday. And then last night I was at a meditation, and there were a few things that dropped in for me that felt really important to share. And it's there's been a lot going on. I've been out of my job now, my 3D job, for a week, and I must tell you that it feels like years. Time is so weird at the moment. There are times where it feels like it's really going slowly, and other times where it just feels so rapid. But I feel like I left my job like months ago. But then again, I had a really big week last week, so. So maybe I should start with that actually. My intention was to share some things about some of my latest clients. And interestingly enough, my latest clients are not human, they are animals. And I was going to sort of share the shift in my focus and within being magic, sort of on the back of some of those stories, but with the profound things that happened to me yesterday, and then what I woke up with this morning while I was journaling, it just feels like now is the time. So a couple of weeks ago, I really got the strong sense that being magic was going to go through a shift of some sort. I mean, I mentioned it to my friend Rose on the Great Awakening Generator, and I think it was must be about 4 or 5 weeks ago now. I said to her, I feel like something is going to shift in being magic. I didn't have really any idea of what that was going to look like. And what's so interesting for me is that even though being magic is healing for humans and animals, anybody that knows me and has known me for a long time and knows me well knows that animals are the thing that are really near and dear to me. I have always felt like it was my purpose to be here to help the animals of planet Earth. They've always been a huge calling for me. They were there for me. They understood me when I was little, when it felt like nobody else did. I've always been deeply, deeply connected to animals. And I think that's why I wanted to be a vet. And then it didn't resonate and, all these things. But when I did my first Reiki course, when I went and did my first Reiki course with a bunch of people, 4 people, already then it was like, I'm going to use this for animals. I'm going to use this for animals. My whole focus, my whole life has been around the animals. And anyway, through a process of as I've been going through my life and that, and largely because of the massive self-doubt that I've had, um, you know, when people come to you, they can tell you what's wrong with you. When an animal comes to you, sometimes it can't tell you what's wrong with you, not verbally anyway. And for about the past 30 something years, I've been studying animal communication, doing courses, reading books, doing animal healing or whatnot. I mean, I've got a bookshelf full of animal books, animal healing books, and animal communication books, and even some of the more shamanic stuff like the Ted Andrews Animal Speak. I mean, those kinds of things have always been really what's drawn me in, and like spoken to my soul. So anyway, when being magic unfolded, obviously there was a series of events, and I started working with people and whatever. But the idea always was, I think, in deep within my heart, was that one day I would have, sort of 50% humans and 50% animals, and the animal side would grow. It was my own lack of self-confidence, I think, that didn't allow me to work with animals sooner than what's happened very recently. And because I kept telling myself I can't communicate with them, what if I don't get it right, or what if I don't know what's wrong with them and I do it in the wrong place? And there's all these things that have been going through my mind. It's such massive self-doubt. And I now realize that was that was what held me back, because it felt so important to me. It was of mammoth importance that I support and help these animals. It was so, so important for me. And so all the me telling myself I couldn't do it, or what if I did it wrong, were the very things preventing me from working with them sooner than I've done so. So anyway, and then the other huge thing is that I realized in this past week how much guilt I have carried over liking and being more connected, feeling more connected to animals than humans. For a long time, and I didn't realize it until this week, I have felt really, really guilty about the fact that if I saw an animal suffering on the road next to a human, I know instinctively that I would go and help that animal first. And I think there was something that sort of said to me, you're bad. How can you put animals over humans? Or how on earth do you put an animal over a human? So, but what I realized is that by me helping the animals, I'm also helping their human guardians, because if anybody out there feels the way I do about my animals in my home, they are just as much part of my family as the human members. I know that when my animals are sore or distressed or unwell, I can barely function. So by helping those animals, I help their humans as well. And if people can, sort of carry on, because in sort of a vibration of joy and love and happiness, because they're not worrying about their animals, then that automatically uplifts the vibration. And the the other thing is that animals for me are just absolutely pure souls. They have mastered unconditional love, which is something that humans still have to do. And often when I I'm thinking to myself, I always joke that when I'm having a bad time, I want to see the small print on my soul contract and why I agreed to come here and what I signed. Can you imagine coming into this place, into this earth as an animal? We largely, you are not regarded as having a soul. You are not regarded as having a voice. People treat you like you are less than. So many people think that animals don't have feelings or they don't have souls. Can you imagine how brave those souls must be coming into a place like this to live, where they are treated like they are? They are objects, they are things to be used and abused, and they're commodities. So I just think, to me, the animals are the bravest souls on this planet. And I now say that with any guilt or any bad feelings. I know that it is my purpose to help them, and that's what I'm here to do. I feel so aligned to it and so just fully in my heart that this is exactly what I'm meant to be doing. And I always wanted to share some videos. I mentioned this to Rose as well, and I said to her when we were initially talking about what we were going to do on the Great Awakening Generator, and I said to her, I want to somehow convey a message, and this was before I had my own YouTube channel, by the way. I wanted to convey messages to her audience that would help humans start seeing animals for the souls that they are, for the beings that they are, because they are just like us. They are light beings, but they're in different bodies, because we are all one. And that was what I said to her. I said I wanted to find a way to communicate things like that, so that people start looking at their animal companions differently. People start looking at farm animals differently. People start looking at wild animals differently, insects, you name it, whatever it is. And I think that this is my path, and I'm hoping that going forward I'll be able to start sharing some beautiful messages from the animals, whether I get downloads or dreams or communication from them, and perhaps even some of my client sessions that people will allow me to share. I just feel that by me sharing these stories, it is so uplifting for every single animal out there, for every single animal lover out there, to know that things are shifting for the animals. And I think that it's so important to share this, just to raise the vibration and to help humanity. I know at the moment a lot of us are separate even from one another as humans. But imagine what will happen when we can actually start looking at different species and not feeling separate from them. So that's really where I've ended up after this past week. It's really been huge. And ironically, the first week of me being in Being Magic full time has been so many insights and epiphanies around my work with animals. So it's been an interesting place for me this past week. As I say, I left my 3D job, and through a series of events that I could never have predicted or seen coming, I ended up last week having basically 5 new clients, and all of them were animals. And that was really, really scary for me, because I realized that I was now doing this, and all the self-doubt and all the negative stuff from the mind came flooding back and was like, oh, you're not going to do this. And the thing is that what I realized in that moment was, it's not like I just started this yesterday. I have been exploring this, looking into it, learning it, reading about it, doing the courses, doing the work, practicing on friends and families, animals, and more recently, my boss's animal at my 3D job. But I have been doing this since I can remember. And, my mom always said to me, whenever we went to places when I was little, there would be the dog that didn't like people would end up sitting next to me. The cat that was aloof and ran away from people would end up on my lap. This thing with me and animals has always been there. And there were many times in my life that my mother also said to me, which I didn't know, where I would be, obviously grew up in an omnivorous household. And there would be periods of my life where, when I was little, and I'd go and say to my mom, I can't eat my friends. I can't eat my friends. And I didn't know. I'd have bouts of periods where I didn't eat any meat. She said to me she was quite worried about me because I didn't like vegetables either, and she thought I was going to starve. So yeah, I mean, so it's just been a really interesting journey, and I feel very much connected to my soul at the moment, and just knowing that I am now doing exactly what I'm meant to be doing. And that's not to say that the human side of my practice is just disappearing. Not at all. I mean, I had one human client last week and 5 animals, but it's just, I know it's where I'm meant to be. And I guess where I'm going with this is that initially I felt a little bit like a fraud. I guess I experienced imposter syndrome, and I've heard people talk about it, but never really knew what that was. And it's only in experiencing this that I suddenly thought, well, I've kind of got, the animals have always been there. People that know me know this, but so much of my work with Being Magic has been around the human side of things, and this felt like quite a rapid shift. I mean, it happened really, really quickly, but I know that it was meant to be, because I knew the shift was coming. I sensed that there was something that was going to change dramatically with Being Magic, and I feel that this is it. But what's important is that I don't think that, it's not like just yesterday I said, oh, okay, now I'm going to work on animals. So I don't need to feel disingenuous. And this has been a calling my whole life. And I think what's really important to mention here, if it's helpful for anybody out there, in the actual doing and being chucked in the deep end, that I've actually realized that that's how I do it. That's how I do it. I don't need another course and another book. It's sometimes I think we just think, oh, we just need a little bit more info. We just need a little bit more. We need one more course or a little bit more education or whatever. And I think that that way of thinking is no longer serving some of us. And so on that leads me to my next point, is that I feel that there has been a major shift. Somebody said to me the other day that we are no longer human. And I know that we've been talking about, going from carbon-based to crystalline-based, all the DNA upgrades, all of those kinds of things. But what really struck me is that, and this came through this morning while I was journaling, is that I think for me, I'm still human, but what's happened is that I'm now a human being. And I have been a human doing for so long. So, and it's huge, because it's only when I am in the moment that I can do these things. It doesn't come through the course. It doesn't come through reading the book. All of that knowledge is somehow there, but it is being in the present moment. And that is what the human being is, because I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago where I said we're really moving into a state of beingness where we've got to be in our body. We've got to be in our beingness. Not everything is a to-do list. And this is profound, because I feel like, the dragons always call us human doings because we're just not in the present moment. And I feel like I'm now a human being. I honestly don't know whether all of us are entirely human. I think that we all come from other places and planets and galaxies and things like that, and we've just incarnated into human form. So I guess, what really is being human. But being human is, I think when you are really truly in your beingness is when you can truly fully embrace humanity and being human, because that's where all your compassion lies. That's where you're in your heart. That's where you're in that place of love, which is where we're all meant to be. So it's really why I wanted to come on today. And I did want to read something out of my journal, because it was quite profound for me this morning when these things came in. So I've already mentioned about the not being human and the human doing. But I did say that I also feel like I've disconnected from the matrix. So I feel almost like I've pulled that plug out the back of my head, like Neo did in the Matrix. I feel like I've completely untethered myself from the matrix, and that in and of itself is incredibly uncomfortable, but so expansive all at the same time. But it's a little bit unnerving because it's not a place I'm familiar with. It's like I'm now operating in a space that I don't have all those years of what I knew what was going on, and I could learn a certain way, do a certain way, go find things here, there, and everywhere. But what I've realized is that now I'm having to rely on me. Only me has the answers for me. So anyway, so what I've said here, I feel like I have just completely disconnected from the matrix and from the programming and from the who I thought I was. Like the unplugging has been completed. It's an unusual place to be when everything I know and have done, all those ways of doing, being, acquiring, now no longer work. But the new way isn't in a book or a course. It's all inside. It's inside my DNA, my memories, my cells, everywhere, and only I can unlock it. The important thing is that it will only happen along the way, in each moment. In this is the true allowing space, being in surrender, and most of all, trust. It's that inner compass that is now fully online, and the only thing that can guide me, as others' inner compasses will guide them. So this thing about no longer being human, I think I'm no longer a human doing. I'm finally a human being. I can only be present. And it's only in each present moment that I get the insight, the knowing, and the things that I need to know. And the things of yesterday's events showed me this. It's like being adrift in the sea that is the universe. And I finally unhooked my last tether to the shore of the old world. And now it's just me and the universe. No more tugging on the lines to know what to do, where to learn, or where to find info, but just me, my light, my inner compass, and knowing that all the support is around me in the sea. I'm adrift, but I'm adrift in the magic of all that is. Now, I didn't actually, when I reread that this morning, I don't remember writing any of that. And I was really struggling with events of yesterday. As I say, it was a particular hectic day, but I think it was really important that I experienced that, because it was only in the experience what I experienced yesterday did I have the realization of what was going on. And it's so profound how these things are unfolding at the moment for a lot of us, where you're in this almost a state of absolute joy and bliss and love and whatever, and then bang, you end up having a day like I had yesterday, and you go, why do I now feel off course? What has happened? How can I feel like this when everything is going so right? In that wrongness, or that wrongness, and that almost feels like a low vibe space, or like you're off course and whatever. That's when the realizations come in, because you now have a polar opposite to look at for what you were doing. And then for me, the insights then drop in, where I would go, well, why do I feel? I don't know why I feel like that. And then I find out when I stop interrogating why I feel like that and I just let it go. I've normally got something as I'm waking in the morning, or in this case, when I was journaling this morning. But it just feels like a really important message to share for anybody out there that might be like, going through the shift and having these moments where, well, you really do feel like a stranger in a strange land, adrift at sea, like you don't know where you're going, or where you're like, you're not anchored anywhere. And that if you're on a path like I was, and you know that's your calling, and you have something that keeps saying to you, oh, but I need to read another book, or I need to do another course, or I need to find somebody who can just teach it to me in a different way. I'm encouraging you to take a chance on yourself and just let the magic unfold and get out of your own way. Because if I had not had these events that actually ironically first started with my boss many months ago, that was the start of all of this, of me getting out of my comfort zone. It's an incredibly uncomfortable place to be, but that's where the magic is. Why do we want to be in a comfortable place where we know everything and we know how everything's going to unfold? Where's the magic in that? But it's in being in that uncomfortable place, but knowing that the universe has got your back, that knowing we are in different times, that knowing everything is conspiring to give you exactly what you want and why you came here. It's in that unknowingness that all the magic happens. And so I just wanted to share that today. It feels like yesterday felt like 10 years, and it was a big day for me, but there were lots of epiphanies and realizations, and some of them seem quite small, but when I put them all together, I feel like I have just shifted mammothly. I don't even recognize myself. I look in the mirror sometimes and I just go, I'm expecting to see something different. I don't know, maybe purple skin, maybe, I don't know, maybe a little pixie ear, maybe a little dragon's wing. I don't know what I'm expecting, but I'm expecting to see this avatar looking different, and it looks the same. But I hope that message is helpful for anybody out there today. And I'd like to end off with a couple of magical quotes today. I've got a few of them today, actually, because they feel really relevant. So I've just scribbled them down here. But the first one is, magic is everywhere, believe. They laugh at me because I'm different. I laugh at them because they're all the same. So remember your uniqueness, and that you might not be able to learn in the old ways or like everybody else has learned everything. And to remember your magic in moments of struggle. So I'll leave you with those beautiful messages and wishing everybody the most magical week